Hello and welcome to our very first Let's Get Quizzical. I'm hoping that I am streaming out onto Facebook and LinkedIn right now because this is the first time I'm doing this. And as we're all lifelong learners here in education and at Quizizz, I do hope that you're able to join us. Without further ado, I'm going to start sharing my screen. Let me just see if I can do this without breaking anything. There we go. And we're going to be doing this as a live lesson. There's going to be some interactivity. So what is Let's Get Quizzical? Let me quickly talk about what this new session is as I wait for you to join the session. Let's Get Quizzical is a new weekly PD that we're going to be running here for Quizizz Australia. Although if you're anywhere around the world, you're more than happy to join us. And each week, the idea is no more than 15, 20 minutes, a quick, short, sharp, here's how you do something really cool on the platform. In fact, well, I'm not going to let loose what we're going to do today. I'm going to let you find out as we get started. I will stress, though, if you are not part of our community, please make sure you join us. We have a fantastic Facebook community. We've got over 160 members now, and we want to get that bigger. We want to make this a community of practice of educators who love using AI-assisted technology, and of course, in particular, quizzes, but not limited to just that. So please make sure, if you're not part of the community already, to join us on the URL that you see on the screen right now. So hopefully we've had a chance for enough people to join. If you're here watching this after the fact, of course, you can't join our live session. But hey, next week we run this at 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time in Australia every Thursday. So you can join us next week if you can't be here for today. So let's start the lesson. And of course, we're having our very first technical hurdle right now. Got to love it when things go according to plan. There we go, and we can get started. So let's talk about what we are doing today. Each session of Let's Get Quizzical is going to start off with what do you already know? And again, if you're not here live, you can't do this at the same time as us. But if you are live, feel free to answer along. What I want to do is find out how much you already know about quizzes. In particular here, so, what is the name of the tool in quizzes that you can use to have AI alter your questions? Yes, today we're going to be talking about how we can differentiate what we're doing in quizzes using our AI tools. If you know, feel free to put it into the answers that you see on the screen. And if you're just following afterwards, well, just think of yourself. What are tools in quizzes that you can use that allow you to alter the questions? Now, if you weren't aware, the answer is AI Enhance. AI Enhance is a fantastic feature that's baked in for quizzes. It's available for all our users. And the idea of AI Enhance is to help save you time when you want to shift a form of quiz. Maybe it's for differentiation, maybe it's a way of having a bit more fun with it. Maybe you want to do it as like an engagement mechanism. And in fact, in today's session, we're going to jump straight in and talk about how we can go and do that. With AI Enhance, you have a whole bunch of options, as well as the ability to make up your own rationale of what you want to do. When you open up AI Enhance, you're going to see all these different suggestions of things we can do. Things like converting questions into real-world scenarios to make them more engaging for your students, or maybe more relatable, I should say. Maybe you want to add a thematic narrative. Maybe you want to have your questions done as Star Wars, Lord of the Rings. Maybe you want to simplify it or expand on the question type. Maybe you want to go through and add answer explanations. There is so much that we can do with AI Enhance, and in today's session, let's go through and talk about some of the key ones. And the best way to do this is engaging in our session called Easy PD. If you want to follow along, feel free to open up quizzes on your screen, and of course, this is recorded. It will be available afterwards in our community if you want to slow me down. People often want to slow me down, and you can hit pause and go through and try this at your own pace. But without further ado, let's jump into something I have prepared earlier. If you haven't seen Quizizz before, Quizizz is a fantastic platform for creating gamified formative assessment. And there is so much we can unpack in that statement, and maybe that will be a future let's get quizzical. But for today, I'm going to show you a quiz that I've already built on Australian rocks. If you're a geology fan, yes, we're going to get our rocks off today. Boom tish. Stay tuned. There'll be a lot more puns where that came from. So what you're going to see here is a whole bunch of multiple choice questions that I already have written here for my students. But I want to go through and enhance these. So if I go and edit this quiz, you're going to have the option for each question that you see here. There's this AI drop down. What this is going to allow you to do is to go through and adjust each question. And the best thing is you can do it question by question, or we have quick actions that you can do across the whole quiz, doing things all at once. But for the sake of today's demo, I'm going to go question by question to highlight some of the critical ways that I like to use AI Enhance in my own classrooms. The first thing I'm going to go through and talk about is fixed grammatical errors. This does exactly what it says it does. If you've got quizzes and if you're like me and I have the worst typos known to man and woman, you can go through and it will go through and check the grammatical structure of your, not just is it, a typo, but also, is the terse correct? And it does work using multiple languages to a large degree. So I'd encourage you to try it out, even if you are using Spanish, German, French, etc. The good news is I have no errors in this particular question. A great way of having a digital proofreader along for the ride to make sure that your quizzes are grammatically accurate. The second thing that I love to do is often when I built these quizzes, I want to add explanations for my students, a way for my students to go, oh, I didn't realize that's why I got that wrong. Okay, that explains it. So that next time they attempt it, they can get mastery of this subject area. So rather than going through and writing them individually, I can use AI Enhance and I can go through and say, add an answer explanation. And you're going to see here the question, what type of rock sand is commonly found in the outback for its red discoloration due to iron? And the answer is sandstone. And then underneath it is this explanation. Sandstone is commonly found and is known for its red coloration due to iron oxide. And of course, depending on the question that you're asking, these explanations become more or less detailed. Again, a fantastic way. And by the way, if you're not happy with the answer it comes up with, you can always click on regenerate and it will come up with different options for you. In fact, let's go through and do another one down here. Which process led to the formation of metamorphic rocks? Again, I'm going to go through and say add an explanation. And it's going to go through and you can see here it's added a bit more detail. Metamorphic rocks are formed by exposure to high temperature and pressure, right? We can see how it's gone through and used the AI to provide a fantastic explanation for the student. Now, the next one is a little bit more fun. What I want to do is I want to convert something into a real world scenario. Now, again, depending on what your intent is when you're creating this quiz, is it here as a learning exercise? Is it here as an assessment format? Again, that's going to be up to you. But often, especially with younger students, I like to turn things into a real world scenario. So here I have, what's the identifying characteristic of sedimentary rocks? How can I turn that into something that's going to be a bit more relatable? Well, with one click, I can go through and say, let's convert this into a real world scenario. Let me just get my hover right there. And you're going to go through and again see how the AI is looking at the question and now created a scenario base. While on a field trip, Luna finds a rock sample and wonders about its type. What identifying characteristics? It's still at its core the same question, but we've gone through and reworded it to make it a bit more relatable to our student. And again, if you're not happy with it, click regenerate. You can do this as often as you like until you come up with an answer that suits what you're after. Okay, we've got one about scarlet. Maybe I prefer this. And to apply it, I just go apply changes, and there we go. So you can see how using AI very quickly, I'm able to go through and shift these questions. Now, I also like to talk about this in relation to differentiation. So I might have students who have English as a second language, maybe a very distant second language in my case. I can actually go through and say, actually, I want to create a version of this quiz where it's actually in Spanish or German or French instead. Now, I will show you how we can do things to the whole quiz as a whole. But again, for the sake of this particular demonstration, I'm going to do it just for this one question, which if you're thinking about it, yes, would mean that everybody would see it in a different language. So maybe not the best example to use, but I am on a time limit because this is Let's Get Quizzical. So I'm going to say, let's go through and convert this into French. So if I go translate into French, again, it's using the AI to go through and try to convert it. Now, by the way, AI tools are always going to be fickle. Please make sure you don't just rely on this. You'll notice, however, that in this case, it's actually saying it actually can't do it in French particularly well. Maybe you're going to have a language issue. Please make sure whenever you use an AI tool, ours or anybody else's, never trust the output. We always like to make sure that we put the human on top. The phrase that I often use when I'm doing training is use AI to augment your doing, not augment your thinking. And I use that with students as well. It's a great way of thinking how these tools can help us. Now, knowing that, again, we're keeping this short, we're keeping this sweet, I want to show another couple of real fun examples that we're going to do to the whole quiz. The first thing I'm going to do is on the right-hand side, we can do things like add similar questions. If I have a question, but I want to create 2 or 3 more additional ways to reinforce it, I can go and say generate additional questions, and it will do just that. It'll look at that subject area and convert additional questions for you. If I go down to more options, you're going to see this screen pop out that you saw in my screenshot earlier. These are all kinds of really cool things that you can utilize. So again, the things we've just talked about up top are the 3 most common used areas. But we can also do things like, I want to simplify the questions, or I want to go through and add my students' names. And let's do this one, because again, this is great for engagement. In my class, I have Lola, I have Steve, I have John, and I have Lisa. Now that I've gone through and added their names, if I go enhance quiz, it's going to literally rewrite every question, but find ways to insert their names. So here we have, during the geography project, Lola and Steve are researching rocks. During this field trip, the Outback, Lola and Steve. Let's hopefully get some other names going here. Steve presented the landmark. Lisa and John observed a mountain range. You can see how it's rewritten and put the students' names in. If you're looking for a fun way to get your students engaged and have a bit of a laugh as they do these questions, adding their names is one fun way of doing it. I'm not going to save this because I want to show another couple of examples. Speaking of fun, we have the Make It Fun button. If I go Make It Fun, it's going to go through and reword this and add a sentence of whimsy. So again, we've now gone through and we've got things like, hey there, adventurers. Emma, Grace, and Hannah are exploring the vast outback and have stumbled upon rocks. You can see how it's adding some narrative. It's adding some flavor. It's adding some color. Make It Fun does exactly that. It's going to take your questions and add these fun little elements so that students may not realize they're learning or even being assessed as they go through and do it. And staying on the fun angle, let's do one more, which is to go through and to add a thematic narrative. Now, again, this is completely up to you. And you can see some examples we've got here. Say it like Shakespeare, relate it to cartoons, make it a futuristic theme. Just because it's easy as a click, I'm going to say, let's do this in the words of Shakespeare. It's now going over my entire quiz and taking this and rewording it in the words of the great bard himself. What type of stone dost one find aplenty in the vast expanse of the Australian outback, its hue turned a fiery red by the kiss of iron oxide? Again, fun examples that you can go through and with one click have AI enhance, take your raw content and make it something that's going to be a bit more engaging while saving you a lot of time. Let's finish up on one last example. And this last example is actually more about differentiation, not from an engagement standpoint, but from a capability standpoint. It's great that I've got a multiple choice quiz here with typically 4 answers. But you know what? I might have students who have the different learning support needs that I actually want to make it less challenging. I still want to test that they know the information, but making it a 4-choice quiz isn't needed. So I can do things like reduce options. And with one click, you can see it's taken it from 4 to 2. I haven't had to edit each individual question to go through and activate this. So that's it. How cool is that? And again, each week as we do a Let's Get Quizzical, that's what each week is going to be. What's a fun, short, punchy tool that you can learn that you may or may not have known what it could do. And we're going to focus in on that, give some examples, and let you loose. What I really want people to do is, as you've made things, come to our community, share your experiences, positive and negative. How did it work well? What examples didn't work so well? And as my one last thing, I want to stress that our examples are just that. When I go into more options, these are examples that we've provided. but you actually can come up with whatever you want. And the great thing about this is, again, depending on your needs, depending on what your assessment mode is going to be, you can do things such as, and I'm going to use one last example, but I'm just going to type something in. Say these questions in the voice of Dame Edna. So if we're going to be Australian, let's go straight to the Queen of Australia, Dame Edna herself. And as I've gone that, we can now see what we've got. Possums! Can you tell me the type of rocks, darling, it's famous for in the Australian outback? Um, the real value of this is thinking about what are the challenges that you are trying to achieve and how can this genuinely save you time so that you can create a quality, engaging task for your students, be it formative or summative, or in the current world, usually somewhere in between those two, to make sure that students get what they need, but in a way that you can do it with a lot less time to utilize. So that is it. That is our easy PD done and dusted. I promised you these things are fast and easy. So let's check what you know. Let me throw a couple of questions at you. I know I did this quickly, so let's see how much of it actually got through. First question I actually want to get you thinking about, and we'll kill the audio, is Quizizz AI Enhance works with which of the following media types? So far, I only showed one particular type of media. You'll see here where the options are images, text, video, or all of them. And give people a few seconds to answer. And if you're watching afterwards, I'm sorry you can't do this live yourself. But if you hadn't picked up on it from my demo, right now, AI Enhance only works with images. Now, of course, we're always bettering our processes here, right? We want to make sure we can do things in better ways. But today, text is the only way that AI Enhance will operate. But hey, keep watching. In the future. We might be able to add some other additional features. But today, AI Enhance only works on the text type. The next question I have for you, let's bring it through. The next one always a little bit off guard. What can you use AI Enhance for? Now, the problem is we don't have a lot of people here live today, so I'm actually going to do this. But you can actually do it for one of two things: to modify all questions in a quiz, or to do it for individual questions, or both. Now, again, I did cover this. I'll give you a second to think about it. AI Enhance. Can we do it over the whole quiz? Can we do it just for particular questions we want to focus on? Or can we do it for either or? As the famous El Paso taco would say, why not both? The answer is both. You can do it for the entire quiz or individual questions to achieve exactly what it is that you want to achieve. And that's it. Welcome to our very first episode of Let's Get Quizzical. So where to from here? Each week, let me just kill the sharing here so we can get back to me. Each week, we want to make sure we bring you something new, something fast, easy to absorb. If you want to find the recording of this, or if you want to share this recording with others, please make sure to go to the link that you currently see at the bottom of the screen, facebook.com/groups/quizzes.au. We're building a fantastic community. Not only can you learn, hopefully you can share. Please share your examples of what you've learned today. And you can even win prizes. Yes, swag like this we regularly give away. So please come and join and have a bit of fun. In the meantime, thank you so much for tuning in for our very first and relatively stable Let's Get Quizzical. Each week we'll run these at 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time in Australia, with the recording available afterwards. If there's a particular feature you would like to see covered in the next session, please join our community and share their items that you'd like to see covered, and we'll make sure we cover them in an upcoming week. In the meantime, we hope you enjoy the rest of your week. Thank you for joining us for our very first session of Let's Get Quizzical. I hope to see you next time. Bye.